thanks for stopping by the Obviously Authentic channel. My name is Leah. That's Lea and not Leah. Okay. Well, thanks for stopping by, and you are tapped into Oh, have y'all seen? This is a new series that I am creating because I really enjoy documentaries, and I just like talking about them. I want to talk about them and I love watching them. So this series will start off with Evil Genius, and that is a 4-part series on Netflix. And it details basically a I'll give you some pointers. I'll give you a little snippet. It is a bomb, a robbery, and a criminal mastermind, hence the term evil genius. So the series starts off with talking about Marjorie, I think it's Dale Armstrong. And the person who actually I think is creating the film or filming this has been corresponding with Miss Marjorie, since she got locked up. So basically, he says that Miss Marjorie, when she was a little girl, was lonely. She was very awkward, but she developed into a beautiful woman, and she ended up getting a master's in education. He said that she didn't get friends until her dad built her a dollhouse. Honestly, when you look at the picture, it looked like a she shed, like a shack. But it's kind of sad that like she didn't get friends until they saw that she had this little dollhouse that they wanted to be a part of her life. But she, like the guy said, she grew up to be a very beautiful woman. She was very intelligent, but she did suffer from mental illness. One of her main things was like she couldn't keep friends or keep very deep relationships. All her relationships were surface level. And she went to several different doctors, and what you end up finding out is that some people believed her, some people didn't. One doctor said he felt like she was just a narcissist that had like she was a narcissist that just was like full of herself. Another person felt like she had manic episodes or she was bipolar. But they all stated that she was a very smart and she was just a very intelligent woman. So the story continues, and like we start off with being in PA, I think it's Erie. So basically near Lake Erie. It's Pennsylvania, or Erie, Pennsylvania, which is near Lake Erie in between Ohio, and I think the thing they showed was New York. But we open up at a bank robbery at the PNC Bank. And basically we meet a guy named Brian Wells, and he has on this shirt and it says, "Guess what this is?" And you see his shirt and it's like propped up. He also has a cane, but you end up finding out the cane is a gun. So it's a cane, it's a gun that looks like a cane. So he goes to the bank and he hands the teller a letter, and it's like a long letter. Like I think they stated that the letter was maybe like 6 or 9 pages. And basically, he was supposed to steal $250,000, but he only stole $8,000 because that's all the bank has. I think people don't understand that banks are not what we think we see on the movies, like in the movies where we see bank robbery movies. Like banks do not have that much money on hand like that. Like they just don't. Unless it's like the US Treasury and it has like a vault. And then those places, like I used to live on Fort Knox. Fort Knox is like loaded with snipers. So anytime there's that much money in one place, they gonna have their guns ready. So I don't understand why they thought he would get that much money from a bank. But he ends up getting the money from the bank, and they report a robbery. The people report the robbery, and then the police catch him at a McDonald's. So then we meet Mr. Lamont King, who was at that time a state trooper. I don't know if he's retired or not. They didn't specify it, but there is like video footage of him actually being one of the officers there. And so Mr. Brian Wells is just sitting in the middle of the road with his hands cuffed behind his back. And the police got their guns drawn. Everybody is like really like way away from him because they realize he has it on his neck, and the bomb on his neck. And he tells them like, "I have a bomb on my neck. I really need to get to the next location so I can get the 3 keys. So I will 4 keys so I can like unlock this thing off my neck." And immediately all I could think about was Saw, and that's why I don't like Saw. I don't like nothing around my neck like that. That's why I don't get why people wear chokers. It feels constricting. But I just like, that's like the first thing that came to mind while watching this is like, oh my God, like whoever, and I don't think Saw was not out by then. At least I don't remember Saw being out by then. Honestly, when this happened, I was like in elementary school. So I definitely know I wasn't allowed to watch Saw. But I'm just kind of like, did someone see Saw? But I don't think Saw was out, so I'll just get it out of my mind. But I was just like, oh my gosh, like that has to be horrible. So basically what we end up finding out is that Mr. Bryan worked at a pizzeria or a little pizza place. He got a phone call that someone wanted pizza delivered to this like location. He drives out to the location to give them, the pizza. He gets attacked. He says he was attacked by 3 black men. And then when he wakes up, he has the collar around his neck and he has the letter, and it's basically saying that like he has to follow this scavenger hunt and go to point A to point B to point C to D, so on and so forth, to obtain these keys in order to take the bomb off his neck, to take the bomb collar off his neck. So he's saying all of this, but the crazy thing is like the police don't believe him. And the part that like perplexed me was like, why wouldn't you believe him? Even if you didn't think to believe him, like I would err, and I get that's why they were erring on the side of caution, why everybody was away from him. But for them to not take it seriously, like off rip, that like he has a bomb strapped to his neck, I don't know, like that's just crazy to me. And I think they also mentioned in here the Unabomber. So I'm not remembering if the Unabomber happened before this or after this, but I think it did if they are mentioning it to show examples of what's happening. So if the Unabomber situation happened before this, I don't understand why nobody was taking this seriously, because I'm just kind of like, dude got a bomb strapped to his neck. Y'all, like a legit bomb is strapped to his neck. And I just was like, oh my goodness, that must have been pure like torture. But the crazy thing was like he was talking so calmly. So I don't know if that was his way of calming himself. But that's what the Mr. Lamont King, who was the state trooper, was saying, was like he was calm. So I think they took his calmness for like, okay, this ain't real. Like this is a joke. But then all of a sudden the collar starts to beep. And I'm like, and that's when everyone's like, oh, snap, crackle, pop. Like, oh, this real. And like, I was just so shocked that they actually showed us this man getting blown up. Like, I actually kind of jumped a bit. And the crazy thing is, like, I watched this series when it first came out. When I was just at the house and didn't have nothing to do. And I just sat there. And I don't remember seeing him them showing him getting blown up. But they did, and I was just like, that is horrible. That is so horrible. And like all I could think about was like, he must have been terrified. Like he must have been terrified. Like they said his voice started to like pick up with a tinge of like, hurry up, like let me go. But it was just like, wow, like. And then I don't remember how long they said he had been sitting there, but I'm just thinking about you having to like follow the guidelines of this scavenger hunt to find the keys to get this collar off. And then you like, I wonder if like, even if he was able to get to his destination, like in this moment, I don't even think he would have made it. And later on, you end up finding out that the police actually decided to do reenact the whole thing. Like they actually reread the whole entire manuscript, or the whole entire little scavenger hunt, and they actually did it. Like, so they actually got in their cars, did it on a day where it's the same day, same temperature, same everything. They use the scientific method, because if you can't recreate it, then it can't be proven. So they drive the whole entire thing. Come to find out, even if they would have not caught him, he would have died anyway. So it's like, wow, like, could you imagine like driving on the road and then someone blows up in front of you as you're behind them? Like, more people could have died other than him, which is, it's still sad that he was killed in this manner, but it's just like, whoever did this to him, which we know who did it, but like, who, like, if we're going on the guise of like we don't know who did it, is really messed up, because it's like, you were just playing with him, which is horrible. So as the story continues, you end up getting a little backstory about Mr. Bryan or Mr. Wells, and he was kind of like a guy to himself, but he did have a good relationship with like his family and friends and things of that nature. One neighbor said he had like 3 cats. You would see him from time to time. He would take them in and out, but he really enjoyed scavenger hunts. And I guess in the local paper, they had scavenger hunts to show different landmarks around the city. And so they think he was targeted because he liked scavenger hunts, because if you read the ransom letter or like the robbery letter, it was a scavenger hunt. So somebody was looking for him. They did make mention like when they got into his house, because they couldn't figure out if Mr. Wells was either a victim or if he was a part of the robbery plan, or if he just was by himself and he just did all of this by himself. Well, as the story continues, we end up getting to his house. They end up finding, what do they call those things? A notebook or like a contact book with all these prostitutes' numbers in it. But they couldn't find anything linking him to like the robbery or to the letter. I think one of the things that was most sad was like there was a letter, someone was reading off a letter, and I can't remember if it was like a family member or like a friend of the family, but basically in order to examine the bomb so they could figure out where it came from, because as you realize, I guess from the Unabomber, they say bombers have a common thread, so it's like they kind of have like a calling card. So they were trying to see if it was linked to anybody else that they knew who made bombs. And unfortunately, they actually had to cut off his head to get the device off and keep it intact. And his family was sad because they couldn't have an open casket. And I understand like they were mad at the police and like the investigators. But I also feel like, I think they made mention like when the bomb went off, the back of his head was missing. So I don't even think like even if they did do an open casket, that they would have wanted to if they could have kept his body intact. Because I don't know how a mortician would be able to like pack a man's head, or what your head would look like after the back of it is blown out. Like I don't even think like you would want to see your loved one in that manner. But I do understand them being upset, not being able to, say their goodbyes in the way they wish they could say their goodbyes to someone that they loved and cared about. But they were able to get the collar off, and they kept it intact. But one thing they made mention, and like they said, there's always a calling card, is when they opened the bomb, there were so many like warning labels and like instructions that it was so wordy that they knew the bomb and the actual paper or the ransom note that Mr. Wells had, that like 8 or 9 page ransom note, was linked together because it was so wordy. And I remember when I first watched this, because this is my second time watching it, I thought about it being like, for someone to be that meticulous or to write so much, you must think very highly of yourself. Or you're writing this thing. It's kind of like when you write your an essay, and me being in like, I'm in school right now, and you write an essay and you just have this, like, you keep writing because you want it to sound very like whimsical and airy, and you want to make yourself sound hella deep. But it does, like when your teacher reads it, it's not deep at all. It just makes it seem like you just didn't know what to say, and it's just a lot of fluff. And that's basically what they said. It was just a lot of fluff in the actual, like, in all of it. So but it kind of messed the person up, because you made them understand like all of this is linked, even though you know it's linked. This aids in their investigation to make a definitive like evidence that like whoever made this bomb also wrote this ransom letter or like the scavenger hunt for Mr. Wells to go on. So then as the episode continues, we end up meeting, I think I wrote down his name because I was like, I don't know where this name came from. Bobby Piffanetti, I think that's how you say his name. But he was also a co-worker of Mr. Wells. They both worked at the pizzeria. Well, they were saying that Mr. Bobby was starting to act sporadic and like he was paranoid. And I mean, like, you would be too if like you worked at the pizzeria and like you're a delivery man or a delivery boy and your friend is a delivery man and he get jumped, they put a bomb to his neck and then he dead. Like, you would be stressed out too. Well, they were trying to make sure he wasn't either connected or like he set Mr. Wells up, or if he wasn't in cahoots with him. But he ended up dying. So they did make mention he was a heroin addict. So in this point in the story, they don't know if someone killed him or if he died from a drug overdose. But he was supposed to have an investigate, like, actually, he wasn't being investigated, but he was supposed to go speak with the actual police on a Monday. Well, he changed it. Like, he had a time that he was supposed to come, but he decided to be like, hey, can I come in on Monday to talk to you guys? But he was dead by Sunday, so they never was able to speak to him. They did find, although because Mr. Wells made mention that 3 black men were the one that attacked him, they met a prostitute whose boyfriend was a black man who he was a part of an engineering company and like he was working on special projects. So they thought maybe he was the one who did it, but like the police didn't believe Mr. Wells that 3 black men did that to him in the first place. So but they did question that man. They also found, like, when they after Mr. Wells was after he passed away from the explosion, they actually on the same day they followed the next spot he was supposed to go to, and there was like a blue minivan who was like off in the distance, like rolling up to where the police were. But then they saw the police, and then they said they busted a U-turn and hauled up out of there. So, but the police officers, like, we couldn't get to him because we were too far away. Like, we wouldn't have been able to catch them, even if we had tried. Because from what it seemed is like they were behind a barrier. So, like, you know, when you're driving on those country roads and you see like a field and a road and you're like on the highway, that's where the police were on the highway. The blue van was beyond like the police's like distance. So right now they don't know what it is. They just know that the bomb, or like the actual bomb, was a simple bomb, but it had a lot of red herrings. Like, it had a fake cell phone in it, fake wires. It was just 2 pipe bombs. And I think that lends to also with the letters. So all of this stuff connected. In my mind, it helps you understand that this person thought very highly of themselves, but it was stunts and shows. It kind of lends to the the notion of like supervillains or evil genius or supervillains, where most supervillains think very like highly of themselves. There are some who don't, but most of them, like, I would beg, like 80% of like anime villains or like cartoon villains or even like superhero villains think that they are like the cream of the crop. And then all of us are like beneath them. We're not smart enough to comprehend or understand their level of thinking. And that lends to the notes being like the scavenger hunt being like 8 pages long, the bomb warning labels being too wordy, and then you look at the bomb and the bomb is like fake intricate. So it's like you're trying to insult people's intelligence. Like, at the end of the day, y'all wanted to kill this man, because why would you make a bomb that's fake? Like, you made it like, in the sense of what I'm saying is fake is that like there were so many like, even if you cut the blue wire, it wasn't going to cut off. If you cut all these wires, it wasn't going to do anything. But you realize that somebody was going to be wasting their time trying to cut these wires in a way to save his life, but they weren't going to save it at all. So it was messed up. So I'm looking forward to part 2. If you enjoyed what you heard, or drop down in the comments and we can discuss about it. I really enjoy discussing about documentaries. I think they're really insightful. They help you learn more about what's going on in this wacky world. But thank you for stopping by. Come back, like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more, if you just want to be a part.